Bam! Welcome to the Paradox.
Great paradox.
The Great Paradox. Thanks for correcting me.
No problem.
It's the Great Paradox podcast. Today, we're starting off talking about masks in church. And let me just say that for those of you who are concerned out there, yes, Larry and I are 6 feet apart as we're recording this podcast. No, but on a serious note.
I brought my tape measure.
Have you seen in Germany, there's this cafe, and they make them wear these hats on their heads. And it literally has, you know those things in the pool, the long styrofoam things that you hit each other with or play with or float with? They've lodged these into the hats to keep social distance.
Do they go in 4 directions?
Yeah, 4 directions. They do. It's like a helicopter in a cafe in Germany.
Come on, man. You're making this
up. No, I can pull up the article for you.
Oh, my God.
But, that's one of my favorite things about this podcast is that we don't have to do video. Every morning, if you guys have been to the Flame Keepers YouTube channel, those of you who are listening, if you go to the Flame Keepers YouTube channel, you'll find that we put up the rosary prayer time that we do at 6 a.m. Monday through Thursday, the different mysteries. But, 6 a.m., we got to be in front of a camera. This is nice. We get to hang out, have a cup of coffee, and talk into the microphones. But, so back to church. So, masks at church. You went into, when was the first time you went back and participated in Mass since the COVID-19 shutdown?
Last Tuesday. So it was right as church began. They allowed us back into church.
Okay, you went the very first day.
I believe it was.
You were one of those selfish Eucharist hustlers who didn't care about the little old lady who was, you didn't care if she was the 21st person. You were going to be the guy that got the Eucharist that day.
Well, not exactly. I've been to daily Mass at St. Mary's, and you don't have to worry about overcrowding.
Okay, so they didn't have 20. Okay, so you knew about it. You went to Mass. What were you expecting versus what did you get when you went in?
Well, I've been watching some services on Facebook, and I've seen gloves. And I've seen, masks.
Wait, you've been watching the St. Mary's, Father Martin, you've been watching his Facebook, or you just in general, you've been seeing how they...
St. Francis of Assisi, and I did check in, with St. Mary's, Father Picos.
Okay, did you catch Bishop Barron down in Southern...
No.
Word on Fire, check out their YouTube channel, they do a daily Mass. I don't know if they're going to keep doing it once this thing's over, but it's a good one. Okay, so you went to St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Okay, now... Were you wearing a mask when you walked in?
Oh, yeah. I was following the rules. We're a faith of authority. So I was a little worried that I even had a pair of gloves in my car, but I didn't think I'd need them. But if I did, I could go back and get them. Okay. But I definitely had the mask on.
All right. Now, you were heading there. Was there somebody at the door waiting to let you in? How did they work it day one? Because I know it's different now. They've laxed the rules a little bit.
Yeah, and day one, I didn't run into what I expected to. It was pretty lax. Yeah, I went in, and the church wasn't just humming with people. So Father and the deacon were there getting ready to begin, and... no problem as far as, getting your name signed or checking in or any of that. It was just pretty normal, really.
Did they have the pews roped off like they do now?
They do. Okay. Yeah, so they have little X's. There's like 3 seats that you can sit on for the whole pew.
Okay. Now, were you concerned going there that you were going to catch something? In other words, I know you were honoring by wearing the mask and following the rules. But did you go to Mass?
Did you say honoring?
Honoring, no.
Oh,
no, but you are honoring. You are.
Yeah, I wasn't excited about it, that's for sure.
Okay. So you weren't, but what I'm saying is, were you afraid that you were going to catch COVID-19? Are you afraid of going to Mass yourself and catching this thing that they're calling COVID-19 on the news?
Well, I guess that's a question of basically, do I believe?
No, I mean, it could be. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to find out what your psyche was. Here we haven't been able to go to Mass for how long now? Day one, it opens back up. You desperately want to receive Jesus in the Eucharist.
Big time, yeah.
You show up, you've got your mask on, but in your psyche, were you going there? Was there a concern in your heart like this is a little bit scary gathering with other people right now? Or are you on the other camp that's just like not afraid of it?
It seems like a really appropriate question right now, because it just seems like there's no middle ground. It's like our politics today, it's like either you think we shouldn't be taking all these precautions or we should. There's not like, maybe we should just lax them a little bit or do this or that. So me personally, I went in there thinking, if I have to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask, but kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So
okay, so you're not scared.
On that side.
You were walking in afraid that you're going to walk out and drop down dead.
No, right from the early start of this, okay. I was like, I got the power of God with me, like, and I've talked to you about this where I've compared it to like the Israelites when the plague came over, the Spirit came and took the children. The firstborn.
In Passover, when the 10 plagues.
Yeah, the Passover. And I'm like, I've got the blood of the Lamb on my doorpost, so I'm good.
So you feel good. Okay, so your psyche going in was just, I'm excited to go take the Eucharist. It's been way too long. You go in with your mask. Was everyone looking around at each other like, what is this? Or how was the response of the parishioners?
To my delight, Father Picos has a good attitude about it from my perspective. He's like, I don't want anybody passing out in the pew here. You got to be able to breathe. So take your mask off if you want to. So I didn't sense a lot of, over cautiousness or anybody that was there being too concerned.
See, that's good. And that's what I believe. You got a couple different issues, right? You got the issue of, when we ask, when you said, do you believe, sorry about that. You have two issues here. You have the issue of whether you believe it or not, there's compliance with the state. And that's what the bishops, that's what the bishop is doing. So you have the diocese that is saying, look, this is what the government's saying, and we think it's God's wisdom to comply. And so they're asking us to show up with these masks, what have you, and sit, so many feet apart. I understand that. I get that. I thank God I'm not the bishop or the priest that has to make the decision. So I feel like we as parishioners, we get the benefit of not having to be the decision makers. We get to be the followers.
Right.
So if that's what they want us to do, they want us to comply right now, then good. So you went in there compliant. But when you went in, then there's the other issue is, some people are really scared that they're going to catch it and die. So whether COVID-19 is really just nothing, or whether it's a really bad flu, or whether it's a that's even a moot point. You have people who are showing up in their 70s, 80s, 60s, and some of them are afraid that they're going to get this thing that they're seeing on the news.
And not only their 60s, but younger than that, with what they would be concerned as pre-existing conditions, because there's been a lot in the news about that too. So there are a lot of people that have a high level of concern for what the COVID-19 could do, and the news is really hammered home that people are dying alone and their family can't be with them.
Yeah, and so it's like, no matter where you fall on what you believe about COVID-19, the results of the whole scenario have been tragic, because you've got, my mom calls me up and says, yeah, I went to my brother's house. She went to my brother's house for a Mother's Day. And she's in California, Southern California, where, they're super hardcore, terrified of COVID-19. And my mom says, hey, don't worry though, we sat in the backyard and social distance. Now, I'm just going to be honest. I mean, for me, I'm like, oh my goodness, but I don't want to hurt my mom's feelings, because that fear for her is real. That fear for her is real. And so we're having to honor that. But
and that's the tightrope that we're walking, because for those of us, who are on the more liberal approach to this, we've got to be conscious of other people's feelings and the way that they believe that, we should be. So.
I agree. Now, the important thing to me is, did it affect, and I know that it didn't, you received the Eucharist because you came over here that day and you were on fire.
Yeah. So did it affect?
That's what I'm saying. In other words, the mask didn't stop you from enjoying the presence of Jesus.
Oh, not at all. No, especially with the way that it was handled with the priest. Just take your mask off. We don't want you to pass out in the pew. That was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that it's opened back up. I went to Mass yesterday and today. We had 21 people, but no one said anything about it. Jeff Z was saying that he had called the diocese, and the diocese had said that they're lifting the restrictions. And so, so I don't know if all the priests are aware of that or how they're just getting the information out. But so we had over 20 people today, and
yeah,
there didn't seem to be a problem yesterday.
It's like everything in regards to COVID-19. It's an evolving situation, But we've dealt with stuff like this before, right?
Which brings up the question: to prep or not to prep?
Yeah. Remember Y2K?